they'll lynch you. But he did, and I think he lasted about a week and a half.
Is it time up? Is it time up for David Moyes and Rob Newman? Is it all over? Is the broskies from an Allskis relationship all done? Are they heading out the door of West Ham? Because according to several reports and sources close to the club and our good friends over at 6'2" News, it could be curtains for the duo of David Moyes and Rob Newman this summer. Welcome back to the West Ham Network. I'm Anton, bringing to you a bit of news coming out. You know, I don't know what to believe these days, if I'm being brutally honest, but it wouldn't be the West Ham Network if we didn't report some of the latest news coming to you. So this is live. Get your comments in. I'll go through them. It's very rare that we do regular lives as much as we're doing just now, but it is coming to the results end of the season, and there's going to be stories coming out left, right, and centre. The one thing I will say to you is that 1 minute we're preparing for the worst bit of news, and then the next minute, you know, we're potentially handing over a shortlist to the owners about the next transfer budget. So yesterday, we were led to believe that over the last couple of weeks, we were led to believe that Rob Newman and David Moyes have been working on some new transfer targets, and we're about to hand over a shortlist to the current owner, David Sullivan. And they were working on it, and you've been hearing reports over the week saying that Rob Newman has been traveling abroad, going to Germany, watching players from Frankfurt, you name it, it's there. And they were about to hand over that that list to David Sullivan for him to kind of go over it. And they're scouting the market, obviously, with the impending departure of Declan Rice. So they're going to be in the market looking for someone, because if, you know, with Declan Rice heading potentially out the door in the summer, they're going to have more money to add to that case. So they're going to have to try and do the best recruitment they possibly could do. Now, this summer becoming one of the most important summers in the West Ham life, like in our livelihood in the modern day, in the modern era. This is one of the most important times as a West Ham fan. The reason why I'm saying that is because we don't know what's going to happen with the ownership. Again, things can chop and change. We don't know what's going to happen with the manager, because I'll talk about that in a second. We don't know what's going to happen with Rob Newman. We've got players out of contract. We don't know what's going to happen with Declan Rice. So we're going to have transition after transition after transition. We've gone through the season so far. It's not ended. We don't know where we're going to end up. We could be down. We could be up. We could stay in the Premier League. We could win the Europa Conference League. What does that do for West Ham moving forward? What we do know is there's going to be big changes coming our way, and it's just how we deal with those changes, I suppose. Really, it comes down to, doesn't it? And yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, a really interesting summer ahead for West Ham. Now, reports close to the club are saying that they're done. That's what we're hearing, you know, from some of the sources. So they're saying it's not just David Moyes that's done, but it's also Rob Newman. Now, speculation has been rife for months on end about David Moyes, and potentially 1 minute he is staying at the club no matter what. You know, if we go down, he stays at the club. If we stay up and we win the Europa Conference League, he is staying with the club. However, then other speculation is coming out and saying that no matter what, he is heading out of the club. Now, the majority stakeholder, David Sullivan, has on several occasions backed his boss. When speaking to several sources, David Sullivan has said, you know, there's been no, you know, truth really in the reports that's been brought out from some of the reports that you're seeing. But some of the other, you know, close sources to the club are saying that, yeah, he is definitely heading out there. Now, West Ham have been linked with a whole host of new managers potentially coming in. You've got Arne Slot, of course, from AZ Alkmaar. Brendan Rodgers, of course, sacked from Leicester City. I don't really have any interest in Brendan Rodgers coming to the club. Graham Potter, Vincent Kompany, who's obviously just promoted into the Premier League, former West Ham player Michael Carrick, current Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou, and Paulo Fonseca. So if you want to, you know, check out the channel tomorrow and you'll hear a little bit more about him as well. But if we're going to be selling Declan Rice this summer in excess of £100 million, the pressure will be on West Ham, whoever the boss is, to spend that money wisely and whatever transfer budget that the club has been given, particularly in light of West Ham's kind of big regression this year, despite over £180 million spent in the 2 transfer windows this season. Now, if Rob Newman and David Moyes are doing their due diligence and handing over the shortlist, and David Sullivan is considering getting rid of the guys, then obviously he must be playing this little game, unless there's a kind of gentleman's agreement that they understand that they are going to be heading out the door. But just equally, I take these things with a pinch of salt. I will always wait and see what comes of it, come what may. Again, the reason why I'm saying that is 1 minute he is staying at the club long term, the next minute he is going to be heading out the door. And I'm just going to take it as it comes and see what happens. But you are hearing close sources now saying that no matter what, he is out the door. But I wonder, do things change? If David Sullivan's in charge, he's got his right-hand man in David Moyes, and he goes ahead and wins the Europa Conference League and keep West Ham in the Premier League. Does David Sullivan, jump? Because I don't see him doing it. So it's just going to be down to a decision on, what information's been fed out. Is it right or is it wrong? Because we've been here before, and I'm not discrediting any source. Absolutely not. I would never do that. It's not my place to, because I'm not an ITK. Again, no interest in being one. But when you read it, there's so many conflicting stories. Yesterday, they're handing a short list. Today, they're heading out the door. Now, what I will say is, when it comes to Rob Newman, when he came into the club, obviously he was originally on gardening leave. And for me, I think it was how slow we were in the uptake of bringing players in. I was disappointed on our approach of how we brought players in slowly. And then we started to see them coming in, Aguerd, Areola, Paqueta, Downs, etc., etc. But for me, I think the biggest disappointment, and I'll say it again and repeat it again, it wasn't really the last summer. It was the lack of business from the summer before, where we had the opportunity to build upon what we got. Maybe missing out on Jesse Lingard at the original time when we should have brought him in was a ridiculous decision. Why the club never got that one over the line, I don't know. But again, you can read so much into this. Does this mean that if Moyes and Newman are out the door, does that mean that you could read into it and go, is Sullivan going to be staying at the club? Is he still going to be West Ham joint owner? Is he going to be the top dog at West Ham anymore, or are there going to be big changes coming? I don't know. It makes for interesting reading, but if you're led to believe, then it's not going to be led by David Moyes and Rob Newman. Now, you can't. It's tough. I've been on the side of giving credit where credit's due. There's been a transitional season. I do think changes need to be made this summer, absolutely, with our hierarchy in terms of management and potentially ownership. But grass isn't always greener. But I do think that we've zapped the life out of what we've tried to achieve this season. I think if we had been, say, 9 points further ahead halfway through the season than what we were, then we probably would be seeing a different style of football that maybe David Moyes wanted to attempt to do. But because things weren't going according to plan, he had to resort back to, knuckle down, let's drag through and try and get as many points on the board the most horrible way possible, which is potentially Premier League survival. And it's not the football we want to see. It's the football we've regressed from. We want to see progression forward, not backwards, and that's what we've been getting. So after 2 reasonable years of success, including the Europa League semi-final, in the Premier League the form has dipped, and we've seen that, and that's been crap, and we've not enjoyed it. But I think there comes a time that we maybe need to look at changing it up and switching it up, and it looks like this could be the time to change it up and switch it up. And for me, it is, but I don't know. Is there some agreement behind the scenes? Who's the agreement with? What does that agreement mean? And the hierarchy as well, even above Rob Newman, even above David Moyes, Mark Noble sitting there. There's rumours about new directors of football coming in. Does Mark Noble leave the club? What happens there? I mean, for me, if you're going to go potentially through player recruitment and players exiting the club this summer, and quite a few of them still out of contract and haven't heard yet anything what's happening. We've only got 4 games of the Premier League left. And I understand to a certain extent why you don't deal with some of that stuff just now, especially if you've got your target on staying in the league and dealing with the Europa Conference League. But if you don't renew some of those contracts, we're already thin on the ground. And it's good that the youth players are there, but you need to do your recruitment nice and early. And I don't understand our recruitment policy, if I'm being brutally honest. And I think there needs to be a clear and concise message put out there within reason that the fans get a full-blown understanding of what's going on. The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is, I'm part of the West Ham Network group chat, WhatsApp, and it's funny when you listen to all the guys and everyone's got so many different opinions, but one thing we all agree on is Brighton and the way that Brighton run the club, the way that they bring in a director of football, and they can deal with the fact that if he's taken from the club and moved into a new position elsewhere in a new club, that they've got like a recruitment policy in place. It's like they've got their backup plans in place, and it's like other clubs don't. West Ham don't have the backup plans. We lose Declan Rice. What's our backup plan? We lose David Moyes. What's our backup plan? We lose someone in a really pivotal position. What's our backup plan? Brighton seem to have it. Graham Potter leaves the club, Trossard leaves, and some other players leave as well. But suddenly what happens? They find new talent. They find a new manager, someone fresh, someone new, someone up and coming, someone that takes what Graham Potter did at Brighton and progresses it forward. He doesn't just sit tight. He pushes it forward. He takes everything that what Brighton stand for and takes that club and progresses it. And look, now they're qualified. They've got 2 games in hand on most teams, 1 game in hand on Man United, and only a few points away. So when those games in hand, they're going into the tail end of the season with a chance, not just of Europa League, but a really small outside chance of Champions League. A club like Brighton taking players like Danny Welbeck and getting the best out of them, signing players today, the top-notch player from Watford, and then also on top of that, doing more recruitment, looking at James Milner, who's still doing a job in the Premier League. And they keep finding talent abroad and they keep dealing with it. And when they sell a player, they invest the money properly. And that's where West Ham have failed down the years. We failed down the years from investing our money from when we make decent money from profits from players that we had yesteryear, not more recently, because you can't look at the Felipe Anderson and Sebastian Hallers, but you talk about the Rio Ferdinand days. We've never invested our money properly. But we need to be able to deal with how we sell our best players. Most clubs in the world have to do it. No matter who you are, where you are, what club you play for, most clubs have had to sell their best players. Even if you are the best club in the world, it will always happen. And it's what you do with that money and what you spend it with. Have the West Ham board lost faith in Rob Newman's transfer mindset, his transfer recruitment policy? Have the West Ham board lost the way with David Moyes' recruitment or engagement with Rob Newman and how he puts his deliverables on the park? Have they just generally lost their way as a club? And it looks for me personally like they possibly have. But equally though, it's not the best of timings. If we want to have this kind of collective approach of getting on top to maybe have news like this, if this is coming out of the club, if someone is leaking this information out of the club, it's not the best timing. It doesn't really help the scenario. It doesn't really help West Ham right now, especially when we're in the relegation battle. One more win, Sunday, 7 o'clock, Man United at home. Get the win done and we're pretty much safe for the season. That's what we need. We need to get that win over the line. Sunday, 7 o'clock, what a crazy crap time for a kickoff, but get that done and then we can focus on, we can't focus on the next season because we've got Thursday to come against AZ Alkmaar in the semi-final. So maybe we need to park this and focus solely on what happens moving forward in the new season. I'm going to jump into the comments, see what everyone else is saying. How are else? Is there, even all you beautiful people, good to see you, mate. Michael Blaze, even all that trouble to get Newman has been tarred with Moyes' brush. Something else I'm really intrigued about is, again, within reason, we have to wait and see what the news is. We don't necessarily know what's right, what's wrong. But what I'm intrigued to know about is it really down to Rob Newman, or is Rob Newman the reputable player recruitment, head of recruitment that he once was touted to be, from Man City to West Ham? He wasn't a head of recruitment at Man City, but he became the head of recruitment for West Ham. So he's obviously come with some decent CV. He can't be all rubbish at doing what he does. He must have something set up. But I wonder if there's a disconnection between him and David Moyes. And I wonder if that's maybe had a little bit of a knock-on effect to West Ham moving forward. That's something else to be interested in. Will David Moyes leave and Rob Newman stay at West Ham? I don't know. So many questions to ask. Robert Singleton, I'm sure I'm right. Moyes refused some of Newman's findings. To be honest, I'll be honest with you. I really don't. I do believe that. But I also believe that in other ways, Moyes has brought players in that people didn't want as well. I'd be intrigued to know who the Danny Ings signature was all about. Why? What was the decision behind it? What was the mindset behind it? We were all calling for a striker. Was it the right one? When he signed, I was kind of excited by him, but when I see how much money he gets paid, maybe not. Scott, I actually was happy with the stability over the past few years and that we looked at building the key elements of the club that we were missing. So I praise Moyes for that, but he needs to go. And I do, yeah. Scott, I don't think many fans don't praise him for that, to be honest. I think most of them do. I think that we are a club that are thankful, but equally though we want to keep progressing as much as we possibly can. And I don't know even if David Moyes stays past the summer if we can under this current manager. I don't think we can. Yeah, you're right. Can someone help me? When I press on to live chat again, the blue box come up with live chat has moved. Really? I don't know. I need to have a look at that for you. Robert Singleton, sorry, mate. Cloud will move when Moyes leaves. Yeah, could be right. Andy Imp, can't help feeling if Moyes gate inability more than Newman. Moyes even. P-Gad's changed the owner, the board, the managers, the players, the janitors, the groundskeepers, everyone. I get your point to a certain extent, but you don't want everyone losing their job. Of course not. Of course you don't. But I think there's always that kind of like the shake-ups possibly needed. That's what we probably essentially need is the big shake-up. You know, and that something needs to change there, doesn't it, as well? Peter Chelmsford needs to change back to the original badge too. You're not asking for much, mate. You're not asking for much at all. Does this mean we'll get Sully, Scatter, gun approach to transfers again? I don't know, mate. I really can't. I can't see us. What I really want to avoid is us going completely back the way. I know Russ done a show a couple of weeks ago talking about the relegation and is it such a bad thing and you can go down and you can enjoy the championship, etc. And I get that to a certain extent, but not with this current squad, not under currently what we've achieved now. We've gone too far to go so far back. That's why, yeah, there's an element of a risk. I did a show in the week there talking about, is there such a thing as a manager bounce? It's interesting. Go back and check it out. I've given you all the stats you need to make your own judgment on it. And it's actually quite an interesting listen. And so, yeah, it's something definitely worthwhile checking out as well. Adam Cook, even and Anton, hope everyone is okay. Squeaky bum time. It certainly is, mate. You can say that again. East London on the badge from GP. Real West Ham fans get drunk on the Greenway. Claret and Boo said Moyes went to Sully with a wish list and was told no more money will be given to him, so he must be off. Well, so several reports have said that Moyes and Newman have gone with their wish list to the owners, but the owners haven't necessarily knocked it back. But today are saying that potentially they're done. The sources close to the club are saying it, but I think we have to be really mindful, equally though, of what. I'm not dissing anyone who's got news, whatever, but just really mindful because we've been here, done that, wore that t-shirt several times. The girl guide should come in for our scouts who are put at the jobs. Moyes will be given money if he stays from GP. Sullivan more interested in getting his new bit of skirt to big movies. Sullivan is personally handling all transfers from now on. Troj, Michael Blees not pushing on January 22nd because the squad were tired, needed help. We could have won the Europa. Damien says, are they done, or is it that they're just not getting any board cash? Might have to trade within the money from transfers, including Declan Rice. Listen, I'm going to throw an opinion more than facts. I think what do I think? And this is the question I'll ask you. What do you think will happen come the summer? So I think there's more chance that David Moyes does leave the club. I don't think Rob Newman leaves the club. I think Rob Newman's part of the package that stays longer term. I think David Moyes does. And I think that Rob Newman and Mark Noble will have some form of integration with potentially a new manager that comes into the club. Will this potential new manager and or whoever's in charge at West Ham get a budget? I do believe they will. What will that budget be? It could be, if Declan Rice leaves, the whole of Declan Rice's transfer fee. Do we expect to spend another £200 million this summer? I don't expect our board to spend that money, so I don't think we should have that in our mindset. Do I think we'll spend over £100 million? Yes, but it's certainly not going to be £200 million. If we had £100 million transfer budget, add the £100 million odd for Declan Rice, it's not going to happen, so we may as well not get out there as well. We're better, well better than West. What are you talking about, GB? Keep in mind, when Moyes came in, the cupboard was bare. There was no sporting director, no head of director, no scouts, nothing. Now we have some stability and a good group of youngsters, so credit due. I think the thing is there, Scott, you're right. Yeah, there is credit due. There absolutely is, and we have to give that credit to what David Moyes done. But what we can't do is also just accept, like just average performances, and that's what's been happening week in and week out. That's our biggest issue just now. Adam Cook says it isn't in our game anymore. It's changed so much, and average is great now, and there's so much time wasting and diving, but it's me off nowadays. Yeah, it does, mate. It does, but yeah, I know what you mean. We will never be a Brighton Brentford with Sully in charge. Do you know what? It's all about maintaining this stature of what they're doing. They do, on paper, from the outside looking in, have such a good policy of what they're doing. The biggest thing with Brighton for me, I'll give you the example of Brighton is, and even a little bit of Brentford, but potentially Brighton is the fact, because they've not really Brentford haven't changed manager, where Brighton have. And Brighton have brought someone in fresh, new, young, enthusiastic for the game, tactical technician. They've replaced technical directors as well. They are looking all over the world for the best young possible talent they can find, for the best money they can find, and are willing to sell on for big profits and invest that money back into the club. Brighton are doing it regularly within reason, season on season. Brentford aren't, but Brentford do and have stuck by Thomas Frank and are backing him to a certain extent. He's not going out spending crazy money, but it's what Brighton are doing. So yeah, I do agree with you to a certain extent, but equally though, it's about them maintaining that level. The reason why I keep mentioning Brighton is because when Potter left, people thought it would go to Pot, but it didn't. He grabbed them and pushed them on. Now it's about what they can keep striving to achieve. Can they keep that level of momentum going? Because if you look at West Ham from 2 years ago, we were in that within reason boat, and now look where we are. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Scott says, if we were managed like Brighton with our income and size of club, we would consistently be top six. I wanted us to sign Yao Pedro. He's going to be worth double soon. Yeah, I know. Brighton making moves early doors, like, because they can. I mean, maybe we can. I don't know what the situation is. Brighton got Matoma for $2.5 million. We got Dawson for $1.5 million. Sufal for $5 million. To be fair, yeah, we did. We got some good talent there. Just when we spend more, it goes wrong. Rob Newman was offered Alvarez for $12 million. Moyes rejected him in January 22. I know. Listen, I don't know what to think of some of the transfer policies we've gone through. Whether these players would have worked for us, I don't know. It's a style of play. You can. I feel like right now you can really play any striker within reason in the world, apart from Haaland, in the West Ham team, and we'll probably ruin them. It just doesn't seem to work under our current system of play, and I think that's the shake-up. That's the shake-up West Ham need. It's not. It's been too long like this. It's been too long mundane. Even when we played, that season when Jesse Lingard came in and all that sort of stuff, it was so exciting to watch West Ham. We were going 3-0 up in the first half, and it's just exciting, and goals are fun, as our good friend Nigel Can says. Like, goals are fun. So, man, I don't know what's the right, what's wrong, but didn't get top bucks for them like we will for Matoma. Youth play Wednesday, we play Thursday. You can't blame Newman for Moyes' incompetence. I get that to a certain extent. Under 21s play relegation battle against Spurs on Sunday. They certainly do, yeah. Charlie is crowned on Saturday. He is all for the coronation. Moyes, on the other hand, needs to get locked in the London Tower. Just want West Ham in the last 2 seasons back, going to a game thinking we will win rather than hoping like this season. Hate this relegation battle. Isn't it funny how quickly we forget what we West Ham usually were all about in the modern era? And that's something, again, you've got to put credit on to what David Moyes has done, but there comes a time and a place where you can't just keep doing what we do. So yeah, for me, time to move on. Don't get rid of the tea lady from Scott. Brady already sacked the tea league. God, Alison Street. It's a strange situation that all the fans have more confidence in the team. We picked them, we do in the bottom selection for the Man United game. Absolutely. Michael Blaze, I think they spent the Declan Rice money last season, to be honest. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me is the way Moyes is flogging players again. Sorry, this is a really good point. They may have. You never know. And also, though, equally, going back to this point, if we do stay up, then these players have got the experience, so there's no excuses. There's no excuses next year. I think the straw that brought the camel's back for me is the way Moyes is flogging the players again and not using the squad. Same mistakes as last year. Yeah, absolutely. Leading up to Frankfurt, absolutely. If we win the Europa Conference and bring in Fonseca, Scamacca stays, Rice stays, Pac-Man stays. Heard that Brady's negotiating with Betway to have it on the roof once the gambling restrictions on shirts comes in. But if we don't own the stadium, can she actually do this? I've seen that. I heard that. I think there was some kind of general report out there saying that she was in negotiations with people about it. That this is going to continue, to be honest, and it's all over the stadium situation. But we'll leave that for another day. The fact that he only rotated 2 or 3 players, we find out that as they were sick is a bridge too far. She can others, but we have to give the first 4 million to the LLDC. But that could change depending on what happens. And I think we're going to see some big changes this summer. So keep your eyes on, obviously, West Ham for that. Alison Street, when we stay up and we win the Conference Cup, I expect Sullivan to give Moyes a 2-year contract extension. He's always said there's no better manager out there for West Ham. I tell you what, do you know who is a better manager than David Moyes right now? If you listen to what he says about himself, it's Sam Allardyce. Sam Allardyce. Did you hear his comments he made? Man, do you know what? Within reason, what a deluded man. What a deluded man. I can't believe he came out and said what he said. I'm being careful what I say because we've obviously got Leeds to play. And I tell you what, Sam Allardyce will want to get one over West Ham. But also equally, West Ham can get one over Sam Allardyce because I think the game, if it works out right, West Ham could relegate Leeds as well. Be serious. Where are our wins coming from, Gary? I don't know, mate. I don't know. Maybe I'm living in a pipe dream. I've still got some element of confidence. But it's one win for me. It's one win because we've got 4 games left, right? And we're 4 points from safety. Let's say everyone wins and we're still 4 points with 3 games to go. Our goal difference is what, apart from Leicester, our goal difference is what's holding us apart. And that's still West Ham and Leicester safe then. So it's our goal difference holding us apart with 3 games to go. So yeah, that's like a point in itself within reason, but I just think one more win. I think one more win minimum is enough for West Ham. Okay, just thought, as we don't run the stadium, why is she doing it? I don't know what she's doing, man. What is Brady always doing? 2 draws and we potentially stay up, even if we get no points. It's crazy to think that as well. They've learned nothing from last season and they must go because the LLDC are totally incompetent mothers. Will Everton get points deducted next season, or is their threat gone away? I don't think the threat has gone away because I think they've just went absolutely crazy in monetary reasons. But what I will tell you is if West Ham stay up and Everton do go down, there'll be everyone and anyone chasing Onana. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's someone West Ham have got their eyes on again. Now that if Declan Rice does go, you'll have that money available. And that could be an option as well. It will be known as the Betway Stadium, so we'll get a premium sponsorship. Alvarez probably would have flopped here, possibly. Yeah, like Chico did. They are happy to pay £10 million a year, so it makes sense to then give them the naming rights. They can't have the logo on the shirt after their current deal. Absolutely. Pierre Chelmsford, we were offered Haaland, but Moyes said he would take a year to adjust, as every player does when they come to West Ham. Leicester put a lot of money into the back office and recruitment, and they're into the same position as West Ham. I think the difference is, though, and I'll tell you what, there's an element of what you're saying there is true, but I think what they made the fatal mistake is bringing someone like Brendan Rodgers into the club. I think that was a fatal mistake for Leicester. Now, Leicester have won the Premier League, have won the FA Cup, and we've not done anything in the last 40 years. So I would rather be what Leicester are, having their training facilities, and be in the same position as Leicester right now, with the option of potentially getting out of this situation, because now they've got rid, I don't think Dean Smith's the right manager, but I think now they've got rid of Brendan Rodgers, who is historically known as being a manager who can take a current squad of players and do well with them, but the minute he spends his own money is when the problems come in for Brendan Rodgers, and that's what has now transpired again. Troj, the young Uruguayan Brighton, has other night looked tasty. He's really young too. 3 keepers on the bench on Sunday to fill the bench. Richo's in the house. Good to see you, mate. Other subs, our squad depth is crap. Darren Gibson, Ben Rama won't be singled out anymore if Moyes goes. What's interesting is players like if Moyes was to go, I think Ben Rama switches straight into the middle, and I think you'll see a whole new flamboyant, exciting player. Like he'll be like a brand spanking new signing. Put Corny out on the left, Ben Rama through the middle, wow, and behind the striker. I think that would be so exciting. So exciting. I love Big Sam. Maybe I'll end my membership and join. What are you talking about? That gives me, we want to keep the nucleus of the team, then Moyes has to go, or we'll all want out. Would you give Moyes 10 quid to invest in players? I wouldn't. To think how long we waited before signing players, I know, but Benny needs to be singled out as his shots. He's been rubbish and he's not even really bothered the keepers. I agree with you to a certain extent, Adam, but what I will say is I'm fed up of seeing him out in the wing. I don't want to see him out in the wing, and I don't know why the persistence is there to keep doing it. What, because he bangs in a couple of penalties? I do love him. I want him to succeed at West Ham. Fed up of seeing him through it in the left, and he needs to be through the middle. It's where I thought where Felipe Anderson's best position was for West Ham, but who am I? Who am I to imagine we were born belly and winning the World Cup at age 17? What a legend. When we signed Payet, we had done it and dusted really early. I was impressed and thought, finally got our act together. Yes, you're not the only one, mate. James Ward-Prowse as a replacement for Rice and Creswell, midfielder and a free kick taker. You are correct, mate. You are correct. Peter Chelmsford can see us losing the next 2 league games, and the pressure will be on us big time against Leeds. Absolutely, mate. It's all or nothing. Like, we've got to go in and get that one and back it up. And we're going to be missing players. We don't know who else is missing, but hopefully it's not just, hopefully it's just Sufal, because we do know Rice, Suchek, and Agerd were back in training today as well. But listen, if you are interested in becoming a channel member, you can click on the membership option. There's some exclusive content going out there on a regular basis now. So you're getting some of the David Moyes press conference that's embargoed coming from Football London as well. So that goes on to the membership option. We do give you the press conference pre-embargo out on the main part of the channel. We're going to be giving you some more content out on the memberships. We're doing really, really cool prize draws every month. From now on, you're going to be entered into draws to win fully signed West Ham tops from the current squad. Maybe you don't want them, I don't know, and footballs as well. So really cool draws. So if you're interested, there is an option that says join membership. We're going to be bringing you, like I said, exclusive content. There's going to be different bits and bobs going out there. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave us your feedback as well. But what happens is Moyes and Rob Newman leaving the club. Are they done and dusted at West Ham? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Sufal is not confirmed in terms of how long he is going to be out, but he is definitely missing the Man United game, but it's not looking great. But we will have to wait and see as well. Anyway, short and sweet one for you. Hope you're all well. It's not short and sweet one, but enjoyed coming on live. Anyway, tonight, 10 o'clock, Irish Tommy, the Late Late Show with Irish Tommy. Make sure you go and join him for that, of course. Take it easy, everyone. And, of course, come on, you Irons.